Is there an Islamo-Leftist lobby? For me as a researcher, I think it's important to answer the question because, it will be useful for either nationalists and patriots to know who to fight against, and it is a useful information for Muslims to know who to join or pledge allegiance to, especially if they want to replace the European population. Hello and welcome. My name is William. I am a researcher in sociology at the University of Warwick in the UK, and this is a video series around my latest book, Muslims in the Neoliberal Empire, which is about how the society colonizes us, all of us, and what can we do about it. It's been 15 years I've been working on Muslims in France and in Europe. I got a £300,000 grant for that, and I've delivered training to police officers who are curious about the same questions. Although it will upset some on both sides of the fence, I have to say the truth. I'm going to just say it. Muslims are too divided to have a lobby. One of my main theories is that Britain has done an amazing job since 9/11 with Prevent and other strategies at dividing and conquering Muslims. So there's no unified Muslim community. They're just so divided that they cannot even agree on common Eid festival dates. Like if you go in a town and you have, let's say, 3 mosques, each of them will celebrate Eid on a different day. What has happened with Prevent and just like other counter-extremism initiatives and on the other side of the Atlantic is that now you have more Muslims obeying the government. They don't want to make any waves because obviously they don't want to go to prison, to the point where they even spy on themselves, whether it is in schools, in mosques, and report to the government because it's very lucrative. You are given, let's say, £50,000 for your little school in the Midlands to spy on your students and other members of staff. So people are in a situation where, the government made them an offer they can't refuse. You see Muslims using Prevent to try to undermine business competitors. I mean, it's just crazy. And thanks to consumerism and the age of social media, for many, if I dare say most Muslims in the UK, Islam is not a religion anymore. You have to look at how they've turned Ramadan into the consumerist version of Christmas. Have the Ramadan lights, people exchange presents at the end. It's almost as they'll have a fir tree somewhere in their house at some point. Thanks to fashion influencers, the hijab, the veil is not even a religious symbol anymore. It's just a fashion trend. People fight for becoming Nike ambassadors because it pays a lot. And even if it means promoting products which are manufactured by other Muslims in forced labor camps. Literally, the Muslim community is drinking its own blood. So if you look at British Muslims from a political perspective, there is no dominant representative organization. Wealth is not distributed. A lot of it goes to humanitarian projects abroad, or people are willing to invest for themselves to, like in real estate and businesses, to get some quick return on investment. Most Muslim MPs, all we have is isolated figures with no backing, no support, and who are more than willing to comply to the dominant agenda of their respective parties. At best, they are silent on topics of concern for the general Muslim population, such as Palestine. Otherwise, if they are not anti-immigration like Sajid Javid or Zia Yusuf at Reform UK. A lot of Muslims are obsessed with getting OBEs, CBEs, MBEs and other imperial titles, even if it doesn't give them any rights or privileges. There is no solidarity. Pakistanis, they have beef with Bangladeshis. And a point a lot of people miss, most of them do not even practice Islam. And that's not only my observations in the span of 15 years. There are statistics in Europe and North America, how despite, numbers of people identifying as Muslims are growing, less and less of them practice Islam in the sense that, they don't pray 5 times a day, they don't go to the mosque every Friday. The younger generations, they ask advice, not from their local imams, they ask advice from fashion influencers. A lot of people have never read the Quran in a language they understand. Some people know the Quran by heart in Arabic, but they don't know Arabic, so they don't know the meaning of the verses. And this is the people we are told to fear. People who generally come from a deprived social economic background, who have no political leverage, who have no influence in terms of wealth or in our institutions, and who are completely disorganized, apart from a few grassroots groups. And this is not to criticize Muslims and immigrants or to defend them, it's just the state of affairs. If we want to tackle problems of culture and economic problems in Britain, I don't think we should look at people who virtually have no power and no influence. We instead should follow the money. There's one entity that identifies as Muslim which has been trying to influence European politics and the society, and that's Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries have, for the past years, bought en masse British, French, and other European historical heritage sites, real estate, and they have their hands deep into Britain's backside, to stay polite. So they have boosted violent extremism in Europe. They perform assassinations in broad daylight, violate human rights, and yet no one in the government, no one, even in parties like Reform UK, or the ADL, have said anything against Saudi Arabia. There has been a perceived historical association between the left and Muslims, because the left is usually perceived as more inclusive. You can just Google about Islamophobia in the Labour Party to see what Muslims have to say about Labour. The left can be anti-immigration, the left can be anti-LGBTQ. Let's look at Germany and Sarah Wagenknecht. She is anti-immigration, she is anti-Palestine, she is anti-LGBTQ. If you look at the current Labour UK immigration policies, Islamophobia in the Labour Party, the left is not as inclusive, woke, progressive, liberal as people think it is. There's no more left and right. There are people who are the establishment, who are in power, who control resources, who control people, who control narratives in the media. And then there is the rest of us, normal people, and we are made to think that voting is going to change anything, but we are just choosing every time between the lesser of two evils. According to what I've observed, whether it is in the UK, whether it is in France, left-wing parties in France, or even the Democratic Party in the United States, they have only been happy to make alliances with certain Muslim groups for the purpose of gaining votes. The reality is that if you ask any Muslim, a lot of them do not trust the Labour Party or the Democratic Party in the US for a lot of reasons. Not only I can mention recently their stances on the situation in Palestine, and I can talk about their records when it comes to the war on terror. The left has a very particular idea of what a Muslim should look, speak and behave as well. It's not because a party market themselves as inclusive that they actually are. So the premise for there to be a lobby or any form of representative organization would be for Muslims to show solidarity across cultures, across political opinions, across socio-economic barriers, and not mentioning a variety of different, sometimes conflicting religious opinions. But this is something which has yet to happen. I don't know who has invented this kind of myth of a leftist Islamic lobby in the UK, in Europe, and elsewhere in the world, but it just doesn't match the reality. So of course some people are going to completely disagree and still believe that Saudi Arabia is completely harmless and we should fear undocumented migrants instead of powerful countries which have an influence on the government and the society. Now, I'm not here to convince anyone. I just hope that this video allowed you to raise some more questions, or at least to pause on some of the facts and narratives we're served. In the meantime, as always, take care of yourselves and each other.